Hi, students. So we have recently talked about page 80 in our textbooks of our employment unit, and we talked about weather, right? We were talking about the weather in context of how it affects how we get to work, right? Maybe you usually take a bike to work, you bike to work, but if it's raining or snowing, we don't want to do that. So here is just an extra PowerPoint with more pictures to help us talk about the weather, okay? So, hold on, let me put my cat down. All right. So, a common question you will hear is, what's the weather like? What is the weather like? And in this picture, you can follow along and find the vocabulary word in your textbook worksheet. What is the weather like? We could say, today the sun is shining. Look at all those bright yellow flowers. More commonly, you would probably hear, it's sunny. It is sunny outside. You can say the weather is beautiful. The weather is beautiful. Right now, it is late February, and we've had a lot of sunny days recently. So the weather has been beautiful. All right. Next, we can ask again, what is the weather like? What do you see in these pictures? What is the weather like? It's not as beautiful, is it? So we can say, there's rain. There is rain. Or it is raining. It's raining right now. It's rainy. It is rainy outside. So again, we have to listen for the difference between it is rainy versus it is raining. So they sound the same and they actually mean the same thing, but they're actually different parts of speech. So it is raining is a verb. This one is raining versus it is rainy is an adjective, right? It describes the weather, tells us what kind of weather. So very good. And then if there's a lot of rain, so just a little bit, boop, 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 little raindrops. Oh, it's raining. It's sometimes you will hear the word drizzling. It's drizzling, means small rain. But if there's whoosh, whoosh, like big, heavy, angry rain, then we can say it's a rainstorm, right? A storm is probably a word you know, and we can talk about it a bit later. But a rainstorm, lots of rain, angry rain, a rainstorm. Good. So, what is the weather like? This is also in your book. We can say, there is fog. It's like when a cloud is on the ground, right? There is fog. You can say, it is foggy. It is foggy out. Or we can also say there is a fog warning. This might be a new word, and we'll talk about it in a few slides. A warning, right? It means to be careful. So you might see on the news or on the weather forecast or on your weather app on your phone, fog warning, and it means drive carefully, bike carefully. Oh, it's right here in this slide, right? So warning, right? Warning, 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 danger, be careful, slow down, right? So we can see warning, or we also can have the word danger, like danger of frost, danger of, which is a type of ice. So here's our warning. Or we can also say be careful. We can say watch out for, like watch out for ice on the roads. Watch out for, well, falling rocks isn't really a weather phenomenon. Watch out for hail, right? Big blocks of ice falling from the sky, big balls of ice. Good. Here are just some more general terms. What is the weather like? In this picture, what is the weather like? We can say, it is hot. It's hot. Ugh, too hot. Or the opposite, we can have, oh, it's cold. What is the weather like? It's cold. Brr, it's cold. Good. These are both adjectives, right? They describe what type of weather they describe. Good. So, what is the weather like? This is the same word we just learned. So, oh, it's hot. Whew. So other things we might see. We can say the weather is too hot. It's too hot to be good. Hold on, I need to go put this cat away. She keeps biting me. It says, sorry, the weather is too hot, right? It's a little bit hot, warm, a little bit hot is good. You know, you can feel the sun shining on you, but if it's too hot, this word T-O-O, it means, oh, it's too hot, don't like it, need to sit inside. So too hot. Good. Do you like hot weather? You can just think about it. In this picture, what is the weather like? You say, oh, it's cold. It is cold. The weather is cold. Do you like the cold? Here we have something that happens when it is cold. What is the weather like? Sorry, I have my coffee. You can say, there's snow, right? That's this white, powdery, fluffy stuff that's cold on the ground, right? There is snow. We could say, it is snowing. It is snowing outside. You can say, we will have snowy weather. It will be snowy, right? So snow usually looks really pretty. The children have off of school sometimes. Maybe you have no work because nobody can drive in the snow. So some people like snow, and then other people don't like snow. It's too cold, it's wet, it's yucky. So, snow. Good. What is the weather like? Now, this is not snow. This is something that's almost snow, but it doesn't fall from the ground. Or it doesn't fall from the sky to the ground, sorry. So this is frost. This is the word frost. You'll see it on your car in the morning. You'll see it on the grass when you wake up. It's dangerous. You can't drive your car with frost on your windshield. You can't see, and that's not safe. So there's frost. We can say it is frosty. We can say there's a frost warning. Usually it's a warning for people who have gardens and grow plants because the frost kills the plants, right? The flowers, the vegetables that you're growing, it kills them. There's a frost warning, right? Remember, warning, 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 be careful. So, warning. Good. What is the weather like? So this is specifically about driving conditions. There is ice, right? That's what this road sign means. This road sign means be careful because there might be ice on the road. So it is icy. It is icy outside. The roads will ice over. So you have to be very, very careful when the roads look like this. Actually, you should probably not drive if the roads look like that. Good. Icy. And then here's another kind of ice. This is called freezing rain, right? Like, oh, it's freezing, right? Water freezes. When water turns into ice, we can say it is freezing. It is frozen. So freezing rain is when, and you've probably seen it by now in Pennsylvania, when the rain falls, but it's just cold enough for the rain to turn into ice as it's falling. So it's not solid like snow or hail, but it's not a raindrop either of water. So, and then it hangs on the trees like this. We can also kind of call freezing rain sleet. That's like a very wet snow. So we can say it's sleeting, there's freezing rain. So lots of, we also see the word a wintry mix, right? The season, summer, winter, fall, autumn, spring. So winter, a winter-y to make it an adjective, add a y. Wintry mix, a mix of ice and snow and rain. Wintry mix. Good. Okay, moving on from the cold things, we have, what's the weather like? What is this? This is a thunderstorm. Sometimes there is rain with a thunderstorm, sometimes there's not. A thunderstorm, right? So the lightning is this bright white line. So the lightning is bright, like, oh, you have to cover your eyes. Like, so it gets too bright. Lightning, right? And then the thunder is boom, boom, right? The thunder is, oh, it's too loud. That's what that girl is doing. So it's kind of scary sometimes. Good. All right, here's another one. What is the weather like? This is also in our book. There is wind, right? There is wind. You can say, it is windy. Oh, it's so windy outside. And you have to like hold your jacket so it doesn't blow away. Maybe hold your hair if you have a wig. So anyway, so we can say the wind is blowing. This word blowing is also if your coffee is too hot, like, ooh, hot, hot, hot. You can blow. So like the wind is blowing. You can blow on your coffee to cool it off. So, good. Now, we do not have a verb that says it is winding. It's winding outside. We don't say that. So, very good. Moving on. What is the weather like? We can say there are clouds, these fluffy white things in the sky, sometimes white. So we can say it is cloudy outside. You can't see the sun. It's cloudy. Or you can say if the clouds are dark, like in this picture, and heavy and angry looking, it means we have a storm warning, right? Warning, warning, be careful, look out. So, storm warning. And if you have clouds like this picture over here, where there's one cloud, two clouds, some clouds, but you can see the nice blue sky, we can just say it is partly cloudy. Partly cloudy. Not all the way cloudy, but some. So partly cloudy. We also do not say it is clouding outside. So that is not a verb. Here are some extra words that are not in the book, but we can talk about them. This, very dangerous, angry cloud. This is called a tornado. Sometimes it's not made of cloud, it's actually made of wind. So there's a tornado. Tornadoes are very dangerous. You might hear them called twister, so because they go in circles. So sometimes we have tornado warnings, and you're supposed to go shelter in a house or lie flat down on the ground so you don't get whoosh, picked up and blown away. So these are more common in the Midwest of the United States. We don't have many tornadoes in Pennsylvania because we have some mountains. So next, this is a hurricane. Right? Hurricanes are very dangerous. Some of you may have survived hurricanes. So a hurricane is a giant storm. You can see how big this is on the surface of the planet. This picture was either taken from space or very close. So in hurricanes, they have a lot of wind. They cause flooding, right? Flooding is when the water, you can see it here, the water comes up, up, up. You have to walk or swim through the water. Hurricanes are very dangerous. So the south of the United States, and probably some of your home countries, they have a lot of hurricanes. So good. And I think we're close to being done. We want to talk about these numbers that we see with this little circle and then the F and the C. These are degrees. This is temperature. So we can use temperature to talk about the weather, but we can also use temperature in baking and cooking, right? Like chicken has to cook at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Or water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, right? The water boils. So this symbol just means degrees. And we use a number to represent how hot or cold something is. Now, in the United States, we use Fahrenheit to measure temperature, right? But many of your countries may use Celsius, right? So this is a chart that shows water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. It means the same thing, but it's a different way of saying it, almost like different languages, but represented with numbers. So we can say, what's the temperature outside? And you might say, oh, today is a high of 60 degrees, a low of 40 degrees. And so we'll talk about that. Here, you might see this maybe on your weather app or on the TV. This is called a forecast, a weather forecast, right? You look ahead to see what the weather is supposed to be for the next week or so, the next day, the next few hours. So as you can see, we have our little calendar across the top, and we have pictures, right? So these numbers represent the temperatures in Fahrenheit. So 58 degrees. So this is the high. And then the bottom numbers are the low temperature. So the high temperature of the day, the warmest part of the day, probably in the afternoon when the sun has been out for a long time, the high, versus the low temperature, usually at nighttime. So you can see it's kind of freezing one of these nights. So remember not to leave your plants outside. High and low temperatures. Good. All right. That is our weather words. Thank you for sitting through this review with me.